to learn a little bit about Hurtigruten and Brekke tours and what products we have to offer and how we can introduce Norway and Scandinavia to you hopefully next year.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to do something a little bit different today. We're actually going to have two presentations here. The first part will actually be just about Hurtigruten, and we'll talk about our ships and where we go and how we do it, both in Norway, and I also understand that some of you are interested in some of our polar destinations as well, and so we'll touch on those. So that we'll give you a complete story about what Hurtigruten does and about how we do it, because we are a rather unique company. So beginning here, we say connect with your inner explorer. That we're of the firm belief that any travel, whether it's to Disneyland or Florida or the Caribbean or Norway, you are an explorer in one way or another. And so connecting with your inner explorer, here at Hurtigruten, we really bring that opportunity out by visiting some very, very unique and very beautiful destinations. And the way we do it, we say that we give you more, and we like to say we do it a little bit better. So we've actually been around for 122 years, and we're very, very proud to. Oh, by the way, this is my picture that actually shows that I've actually been there. In the background, you're going to see some looks like little houses, and this is actually at a place called Hurtigruten in Norway, and we go there in the spring and fall months. I recently was up there, as you see here. In fact, only just about a month ago. Actually, had a person ask me, do they use sheep to actually trim their roofs? I thought that was pretty good. So then we also have Amanda from Brekke, and I believe that's her standing there with an older gentleman. And so there, Amanda.
Yes, that is actually Arnie Brekke, our owner, that's standing next to me, and we're in his out in front of his lake cabin in Minnesota. So just a nice picture that I thought, kind of captured that we're kind of a family-owned company. We've been around for quite some time, and we do enjoy connecting people back to their heritage in Norway and Scandinavia.
Well, I should mention, too, that we're a great partner with Brekke Tours. In fact, Brekke is one of our largest accounts in the entire country. And so we're very proud of this association. It's been very long and also very lasting. And so the folks at Brekke know our ships and where we go extremely well. And these kind of partnerships are actually very rare, that when we have, it's like it's the right and left hand. We always kind of know what each other is doing. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. As I mentioned before, our company is 122 years old. And we're actually part of the fabric of the country, no matter where you go within Norway. You mentioned the word Hurtigruten, which actually means quick or fast trip. People are going to know exactly what you're talking about, because we are the lifeline of Norway, or at least the lifeline of coastal Norway, and we've been doing it, like I said, for 122 years. So we actually started back a good number of years ago, actually supplying transportation services to the little towns along the coast of Norway, and we've essentially become not really a ferry service and not really a cruise line. We're a very unique blend, and so we actually carry on those traditions even today of a seamanship, of which Norway is more than famous. And of course, we like to trace our history back to the days of the Vikings, and so we have a very, very long legacy. The areas in which we operate, you'll see a map here. You see the coast of Norway. We also operate in Spitsbergen, which is an archipelago, or a group of islands 700 miles off the northern coast of Norway, which is known for its polar bears. We also visit Iceland on the west coast of Greenland. And then during our winter months, we move 2 ships down to South America, and we actually sail to Antarctica. So we can actually say we are bipolar. So we have the penguins in the south, the polar bears in the north. So who is today's Scandinavian explorer? Other people probably like you. Our average age guest is about 56 years of age. They've taken 3.2 cruises prior to ever coming with us, and now they're looking for an in-depth experience. And because of where we go and how we do it, we are actually able to provide that. In fact, we do get a lot of multi-generational families or guests aboard our ships because they're looking for their Norwegian heritage. And so they're visiting the small towns where granddad or great granddad came from, 100 years ago. And so we're able to have a connection, which is really important in today's traveler because they're looking for their roots. We can actually break our guests down into several different groups. We also have people that want to have exciting outdoor activities, so we offer shore excursions such as kayaking. During the winter months, we have dog sledding and the like. And we also have a group that's interested in seeing wildlife. And this is where our trips up to Spitsbergen and Greenland and Antarctica really come alive, because in those places you're going to see polar bears and penguins and walruses, which is really kind of an ooh-ah experience. But even in Norway, we still see a bit of wildlife as well. So we occasionally see whales, and that's, if you've never seen a whale in the wild before, it's really a very unique experience. And we also have the cultural seeker, and this is a very important part of our trips as well, that Norway has a very unique and very strong culture, and we're also able to explore the past. So we have shore excursions that are dedicated to the days of the Vikings. In this picture here, we are actually talking with Sami people. You might not be familiar with a Sami, but if you go back to your 5th grade social studies class, these were the Laplanders. These were the traditional reindeer herders. And this culture is very much alive in Norway. Up until the 1960s, it was actually, the culture was kind of repressed, but now it's become a real national treasure. And so we're able to visit some of the Sami villages and actually see the reindeer, which is, this is real. This is real culture. We also have onboard experts that will talk about the culture, the climate change, the glaciers, the mountains, the fjords, so that when you travel aboard Hurtigruten, you're going to come back with an enhanced knowledge of the area. It's just not a trip. It's we don't have floor shows or casinos or anything like that. You actually come back learning something. In fact, we even have some expedition programs now to where our leaders actually take hikes up in the hills, and they can explain why that piece of ice has air bubbles in it. So that, like I said, you come back and learn something. And my favorite picture here is the person who goes out and buys a brand new camera the day before they go on the trip, and they don't know how to use it. Well, rest assured we have someone aboard the ship that can actually help out with that as well. So looking at our Norwegian coastal trips, we actually operate 12 ships. We have one ship leaving every day from Bergen, going up the coast, 7 days a week, 365. And conversely, we have a ship departing Kirkenes at the northern point of Norway, coming back down, so that we have a ship going each way each day. And so this also gives us some great opportunities as well. So we visit the small towns, the major cities. We go into places like Gerangerfjord and also Hornfjord, which are two of Norway's true gems. If you've been to Alaska before, these are like Glacier Bay is to Alaska. This is what these places are to Norway. We also go into places like Trondheim. One of my favorite experiences occurred actually 2 years ago, this past November. There was a lady from Sacramento. She was researching her family tree. And she was talking with one of the locals on board. She had a file with her. It was all in Norwegian. And she never ever had it translated. Well, this onboard gentleman translated these papers for her, and she discovered that her great-grandfather had crowned one of the kings of Norway. And he was buried in the Trondheim churchyard. And so she's telling us this at dinner, and I said, well, let's have an adult scavenger hunt. Let's go to find great-granddad tomorrow. It was like, can we? We got 12 people together, and we went to the churchyard early in the morning. I had every person take a row, and we're there about 10 minutes when this lady from Toronto yells, I think I found it. Sure enough, we found great-granddad. We then go up the coast, up into the town of Buda, where we have the highest tidal changes in Europe, and then up to places like Stamsund and Solvær, where we've got the Lofoten Islands. This is Viking country, authentic fishing villages. And then going up along the coast, which is like Honningsvåg, where you've got the northernmost point on the European continent, and then into Kirkenes. So as I said, we do go 7 days a week, 365. This happens to be Trondheim. Great-granddad is you see the church there in the background. He is actually, he's over there. By the way, this picture here shows the difference between our ships and their ships. Other ships going up there are carrying 3,000 and 4,000 people. They can't get into the places that we do, and so our vessels, we only carry about 650. So we're able to get into those small towns and those small places that other ships really can't get into. So again, we go in the springtime where the land is coming back alive. We're also there in the summer months with the land of the midnight sun. In the fall, which is my personal favorite time, you get the really rich light, and of course it's now getting dark, so you actually get to see the northern lights. In fact, this year, if you take a cruise between now and the end of February on a full round-trip basis, and northern lights are not recorded on the ship's logs and you're not notified, you'll receive a free cruise next year. That's how confident we are that you're going to be seeing the northern lights. And then, of course, in the winter months, we do have the northern lights. And so we're right now at the very, very peak times. Our ships have wonderful lounges on board. So you've got a 240-degree view. So if it is a little bit brisk outside, you can come inside and still enjoy the scenery. This is very typical of our cabins. That currently all of our cabins, other than our suites, are actually twins. They're fairly spacious in size with good storage space, but we also have wonderful public areas. So we have wonderful lounges in areas that you can actually sit and just enjoy the scenery, along with meeting rooms and the like. One thing that we have in our cabins that I've found very unique aboard any ship anywhere in the world is that there are two switches on the wall. One is for the light, the other one is for the heated bathroom floor. So when you step out of the shower in the morning, you've got a wonderful toasty floor. Our staff is entirely Scandinavian. The vast majority are actually from Norway. We have a few Swedes, Finns, and Danes, and even a few Icelanders on board. Norway is a very unique situation in that we have more jobs than we have people. And so we are able to bring in other Scandinavian countries' staff. And one point that's very important is that English is the second language on the ship. Announcements are first in Norwegian and then always second in English. Also, too, tipping is not customary in Norway, and so people are not working for tips. And they also work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, which is really a nice feature as well because it means their staff is always fresh. We also have alternative dining. So if you have a special occasion and you'd like to have a special dinner for an additional cost, we do have alternative dining, and I have to say, our food, whether it's in the regular dining room or in the alternative state, it is a wonderful, wonderful experience. I'll put our food up against any other cruise line virtually anywhere in the world. Also, too, everything we serve is fresh. We pick up fresh fish along the way, and also, even during the fall months, we get fresh lingonberries, and of course, things prepared right on board. For years, we were known as the mail boat, and in fact, we still do carry the mail to some of the smaller towns. We also carry light cargo, which is also part of the term, so our ships are also working ships. And then, so we're going to take an imaginary journey here. We're going to begin in Oslo. This picture was just taken this past October, so you saw it's fairly bright. But spending 1 or 2 days in Oslo, you get over your jet lag, and also to great museums and parks there as well. It's a very easy city to get around in, and also to people are very friendly, and they can give you directions to different places. Great public transit system. The Opera House, which is very unique. It goes right down to the water. You can actually walk right up to the roof. And then taking the train over to Bergen. This is a full-day trip. You can either make it in 7 hours. You can also take what is called Norway in a nutshell, where you are also able to take a combination of 2 trains and also a boat. So you actually go from Oslo to the town of Myrendal. You get off on board the Flam Railway, which is in the top 10 rail journeys in the world. It's only 12 miles long, but it takes almost an hour to get down. It's extremely steep, but it's also extremely beautiful. Then you board a small boat, and then you go out across Sognefjord, which is one of Norway's most spectacular fjords. It's wide, very rugged, a lot of cliffs. Then coming into the town of Bergen. Bergen is on the UNESCO World Heritage Site. This is the old part of the city, or Bergen as it's called, and these buildings date back to the 1700s, and it's the place to see and be seen in Norway, or should I say in Bergen. So you got really quaint shops and restaurants there. And now we're cruising up into the fjords. And this is where travel really becomes sensual. When I say sensual, I'm saying you're using your senses. You're seeing, you're touching, you're hearing, you're feeling. So you're going to be seeing these wonderful fjords. You're going to be hearing the waterfalls. You're going to feel the spray and smell the fresh air. And that's what people are really going to remember. I've never ever had anyone ever come back to their travel agent and say, "Well, that was the most fantastic flora show I've ever seen." But what they can do is come back and they're going to say, "My God, when we went into that fjord, we could feel the spray of the waterfall." I'm never going to forget that. Then all of our trips cross the Arctic Circle, and we have a special baptism ceremony where guests, if they so desire, will get a ladle of cold ice water down their back. They also get to warm up with a fresh shot of aquavit. And so, but the northern, or the Arctic Circle is on a lot of people's bucket lists. And it is something that is very memorable. For the town of Buda, we then here we are able to experience the highest tidal changes in Europe. We go out on what's called a rib boat. It's almost like a zodiac. You're dressed up in really warm clothes that are provided for you, and you go out into the fjords and actually watch the tidal surge come through. If you're interested in aviation, there's a wonderful aviation museum here as well. Then going up into the Lofoten Islands, probably Norway's most scenic area, other than the fjords themselves. Extremely rugged, a lot of Viking history here. In fact, we actually visit a Viking longhouse. This is one of our shore excursions. By the way, I should mention, too, with our shore excursions, on some of these ports, you can actually get off ship. You go inland for the day, and you catch a ship later upline. So this way, you're able to experience the interior of the country along with the coast. So it's really the best of both worlds. And then the city of Tromsø. Now we're up well above the Arctic Circle. This is looking down on the city. There's a very beautiful cathedral, which is right in the city. There's also museums that are dedicated to the Arctic explorers. And we have a very special shore excursion here that we operate during the summer months. During the winter, we have dog sledding. And of course, that's a really fun activity. They will bundle you up in reindeer skins and you go out across the hills. But during the summer months, these dogs don't have a lot of work to do. So now we have a very new tour where you actually are paired with a dog and you go for about a 4-kilometer hike. It has turned into one of the most popular shore excursions we've ever offered. Like I said, you're paired with a dog, your dog likes you, you like your dog, and you're able to enjoy each other's company. And of course, during the winter months, we do have the Northern Lights. And so from Tromsø north, this is absolutely spectacular. On my trip, even last month, we had Northern Lights 3 out of the 6 nights. And one night they were so bright that we could actually see them through the clouds. Then up at Honigsvåg, we're now well above the Arctic Circle. In fact, we're at the northernmost point on the European continent. Here we visit the Sami people. We're actually able to see reindeers. This gentleman's name is Nils. He's in a lot of postcards. He's actually one of the more wealthier people up on in this area. He actually owns about 400 reindeer. And so you could have your picture taken with him, and he's not expecting any money or anything like that. He's just very happy to convey his culture. And this is the North Cape itself, northernmost point on the European continent. You're on a cliff about 700 feet above the Arctic Ocean. There's a beautiful visitor center here as well, and so you can learn about the unique history here. And then at Kirkenes, which is our turnaround point, you can either get off the ship here or you can actually cruise back down south. But you're only 6 miles from the Russian border. You're just as likely to hear Russian being spoken here as you are Norwegian. There's a lot of trade going on between the towns. But again, there's a lot of World War II history here as well. And as I mentioned before, you can then cruise back down south and you can visit the ports that you missed on the way up because we stopped at night. So you get to, but then you can also work it as being a 7-day northbound trip or a 6-day southbound or a 13-day round trip. New for 2016 is our new ship to Spitsbergen, and she'll carry 320 guests, and she'll operate May through September on a 12-night itinerary. She won't be making all of the stops, but she'll be spending more time in the fjords, more time in Trondheim, so this is more like a traditional cruise. And again, only 320 guests. She's excelling extremely well. And so there'll be more time in ports, no night tops. It'll be more of an expedition-style format, so we will have the onboard lecturers, so you learn about the Sami people and more about the geology and the history of the areas. Now we're just going to touch on our expedition voyages here for just a quick moment. Spitsbergen, we use a ship, the MS Fram. For Spitsbergen, she carries only 200 guests. We do a complete circumnavigation. And the ship's based out of the town of Linggerven, and this is a wildlife spectacular. You'll be seeing things like walrus. You'll be seeing walrus. Also, too, you have a chance of seeing Arctic wolves, Arctic foxes. But the big thing here are the polar bears. There's over 3,500 polar bears that live on Spitsbergen. And while we don't guarantee polar bears, the chances of seeing them are exceptionally good because the population there is indeed increasing. Just a few years ago, there were only 3,000, and now there are well over 3,500 that have been documented. So now we're going to touch on... actually, before we leave, I know there were some folks that had asked about Antarctica. In 2016, we will have 2 ships sailing to Antarctica, one out of Ushuaia, Argentina, the Fram, when she'll be carrying 250 guests. And we also have the ship, the Midnight Soul, that'll sail out of Punta Arenas, Chile. And the Midnight Soul will be doing Cape Horn along with the Chilean fjords and spending 5 days down on the peninsula. Because of the size of the ships, we're actually allowed to make landings, so you're actually able to actually get off and visit some of the penguin rookeries, go kayaking, and actually see the elephant seals and that really up close. So it's really an experience, multi-generational travel, that we're getting families that are or grandparents taking their grandchildren down to Antarctica, and that's a trip that they're never, ever going to forget. And so there's a bit of a legacy. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my good friend Amanda Hancock, who's going to tell you about Brekke's escorted tour offerings, and many of them do include Hurtigruten, and so we'll be seeing you working with Brekke. So Amanda, it's all yours.
All right. Well, thanks, Dean, and thanks so much for giving us some information about Hurtigruten. I know we have some questions that people had asked in their registration form, and I also want to give you guys a chance to ask questions today. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a chat box, and so if you do have some questions about anything that Dean and I discussed today, please feel free to type in your question there, and we'll answer it just as soon as I'm finished talking about our stuff. And we'll take some time this afternoon to answer those questions for you and try to answer some of those that you have already submitted. So, again, thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. I just wanted to touch a little bit on what we do at Brekke Tours. And of course, we have not quite an illustrious history as Hurtigruten, but we do have 60 years in the travel industry. We have... Arne Brekke first led a group of Americans back to his homeland in Norway in 1956, so we're celebrating 60 years in 2016. Since then, we've grown, and now we offer a wider range of products and services, of course, including our escorted tours. So for 2016, we have 15 tour departures, and those operate between May and August of next year. For May, we have 1 tour departure, which is our springtime in Norway. For June, we have 6 tour departures. And finally, for July, we have 8 tour departures on a variety of itineraries. So July is a really popular time to visit Norway and Scandinavia. So some of the destinations that we include in our itineraries. For our multi-country, we do have a couple of different itineraries. The first one is Taste of Sweden and Norway, and this just basically gives you a good overview of the 2 countries. Captivating Scandinavia actually does Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. If you're looking to visit Trondheim, Spectacular Norway, we have 2 tour departures for that one, as well as Norway Scenic and Historic. If you have family that may have grown up near Stavanger, then our Best of Norway tours, we also have 2 departures for those. If you're wanting to visit Sarpsborg next year, who is celebrating their 1,000th anniversary, then I would recommend our Springtime in Norway. We're actually going to spend May 17th there, so it should be a lot of fun. If Ålesund, the Art Nouveau town, is something that you'd like to see, then we have 2 tours to visit there, Norwegian Adventure and Norway's Fabulous Fjords. If you're interested in the Loftus or Hardanger regions of Norway, then Springtime, Fabulous Fjords, or our Thunder of Norway tour would be excellent. And then finally, if you want to spend some time in the Lofoten Islands, then I would recommend Land of the Midnight Sun. Although I do have to note that we've only got 2 spaces left on this tour. So if this is something that is on your bucket list, I would definitely recommend it. Another way to experience the Lofoten Islands is, of course, the Hurtigruten cruise, so that's always another option. So we're just going to skip right over into Springtime in Norway, and this is our May departure. So we're going to start off in in Sarpsborg, and we're going to travel through Oslo, Norway Fjord Country, and then finally to Bergen. So some of the highlights of the tour include, of course, the May 17th in Sarpsborg. You're going to visit Fredrikstad Fortress as well as Oslo's Viking Ship Museum. You'll cruise the Ireland Fjord and Nerøy Fjord. You'll also get to spend an evening overlooking the Stor Fjord at the Ullensvang Hotel. And you'll get to visit Bergen, of course, visiting Trollhagen, the home of Edvard Grieg. And what's really nice about experiencing spring in Norway is all the fruit blossoms. And of course, the Hardanger region is famous for those. So we will be there hopefully when all the flowers are blooming and it looks beautiful, and we can get some really nice pictures to take back home. Our next tour is Taste of Sweden and Norway. And like I said, it just offers some highlights of both countries. And it is a small group tour, so you will be limited to traveling with 28 people. So you'll spend 2 nights in Stockholm, and then you'll travel north to Uppsala, where you'll visit the cathedral, and then you'll drive through the Dalarna region to Oslo. And then from Oslo, you'll go through Norway's Fjord Country to Bergen. So some of the highlights include visiting both Norway and Sweden. You'll get to tour the Vasa Ship Museum in Stockholm, of course visit the Uppsala Cathedral, as well as the home of Carl Larsson. You'll visit the Dalafors Center, which of course the Dalafors is the symbol of Sweden. You'll drive through the Värmland province, and you'll get to experience the Norway in a nutshell, which is of course the train and the fjord cruise and the bus along the thrilling Stalheim Road. And like I said, this is a small group tour, so you're limited to 28 people. Land of the Midnight Sun, like I said, there's only 2 seats left on this tour, so if Low Islands is something that you really like to experience, then I would recommend hopping on this as quickly as possible. We're going to start out in Trondheim and travel north of the Arctic Circle. You'll get to spend a couple of days in the Lofoten Islands before arriving in Tromsø. So of course you'll get to experience northern Norway and the Midnight Sun. We're going to visit Trondheim, featuring the Nidaros Cathedral. We'll also visit Stiklestad. You'll have a full day of sightseeing in the Lofoten Islands, so you'll get to experience quite a bit there. Of course, the German occupation of Norway during World War II, there's a lot of history in this region regarding that. And then finally, we're going to tour Tromsø, including the Arctic Cathedral. Our next tour is Spectacular Norway. We have 2 tour departures for this one. And this is one of our most popular tours just because it does cover quite a bit of territory within Norway. So you're going to spend 2 nights in Oslo. Then we'll head north through Hallingdal and Ireland Valley to Flåm. You'll have an excursion to Bergen before you head north to Geiranger, Volda, and Trondheim. So, like I said, quite a bit of Norway is included on this 10-day tour. You'll ride the Flåm Railway. You'll visit the Hanseatic Wharf in Bergen. You'll visit Bristol Glacier. You'll cruise the Geiranger Fjord. You'll drive the Golden Route and Trolls Pass. And you'll get a little glimpse back in history at Irgen Kistfort, which is a German World War II bunker. And of course, you'll also get to hear more about the Nidaros Cathedral in Trondheim. Now, Splendor of Norway is our shortest tour, and it's only 9 days long. And this is a really great tour for those that want just a little sample of Norway before exploring heritage sites on their own, or you can combine it with a cruise or another tour, say, to Sweden or Denmark. So we start in Bergen, and you'll travel through Norway's fjord country and telemark to Oslo. So some of the highlights, you'll cruise the Sogne Fjord, and you'll get to spend an overnight in the Vignes Hotel in Balestrand, and the Ullensvang Hotel in Lofthus, which are both beautiful fjordside hotels. You'll tour the Hadalsted Church as well as the Hardanger Nature Center. You'll learn more about the history of skiing at the Ski Adventure Museum in Morgedal. And we do allow some free time in Bergen and Oslo, so you'll get to have a chance to explore on your own. Norway's Fabulous Fjords. We created this tour actually this year. It was the first time we've ever run this tour. And really, it was a really great tour, so we decided to bring it back for next year. And we actually enhanced it a little bit, so it's a little bit longer and includes a few more activities. So we're going to travel from Oslo to Geiranger, where we're actually going to enjoy a day excursion to Ålesund. And then from there, we're going to head back south and your country to Bergen. So some of the unique experiences for this tour include visits to Ålesund. We're going to visit a fruit farm, which has been in the same family for 8 generations, and we'll also visit a fish farm. You'll also enjoy overnights at some of Norway's most scenic shoreside hotels, including the Union Hotel in Geiranger, the Ullensvang Hotel, and the Solstrand Hotel outside of Bergen. And Best of Norway is also a great tour for the first-time visitor to Norway, especially if you want to include a visit to Stavanger. So we're going to start out in Oslo, and you'll travel north to Lillehammer, where you'll get to view the Geiranger Fjord before heading back south through Norway's fjord country and Bergen before you arrive in Stavanger. So some of the highlights for this include a farm tour and a dinner. You're going to visit the Hadeland Glass Works, as well as the Olympic sites for Winter Olympics in Lillehammer. Of course, you'll get to experience the Norway in the nutshell. We're going to take a walk through Bergen's Hanseatic Wharf, and we'll also visit the Nordic History Center in Valsnes, where the first Viking kings were from. So if you're interested in the Viking history of Norway, then that's a great place to visit. And of course, we're going to visit Stavanger, so that's something that's really unique for our tours. Norway's Family Adventure. Now, this is a new tour for 2016, and we designed this tour with families in mind, so multi-generational, grandparents wanting to introduce their grandchildren to Norway. We've included quite a bit of family-friendly activities, such as rafting. We've got a family rafting adventure included. And you'll also get to visit Hundefolsen Family Park, which is outside of Lillehammer. So starting in Bergen, you're going to enjoy these kid-friendly activities and tours as you go through the fjord country, outside of to Lillehammer and Øyer, down to Oslo. And of course, the family rafting adventure, that's something that everybody seems to be looking forward to that has signed up for this tour. Of course, we're going to ride the Flam Railway. We're going to enjoy a cruise on the Sogne Fjord. And we actually do have a day 3 in Flam, so if you want to take your children hiking, biking, there's a variety of activities. You can take a fjord safari. Just a wide array of things to do there. We're going to visit the Borgen State Church, and like I said, the Hundefolsen Family Park. We're going to spend a day there. And we'll have sightseeing in Oslo and Bergen. Norwegian Adventure, and this is another new tour for 2015 that we're going to offer again next year. We did change up the itinerary just a bit, but everybody seemed to like it the way it was, so we're keeping the most important aspects. So starting in Bergen, we're going to travel through the fjord country, of course, to Ålesund, which is that was one of the main interests for most people that traveled with this tour this year. Then we're going to head back south through Geiranger and Lillehammer to Oslo. So some of the highlights of this tour, of course, the visit to Ålesund. You're going to get to see the town's unique architecture. You'll visit the Norwegian Fjord Horse Center to learn more about Norway's native horse breed, and you'll get to spend the overnight outside of Jotunheimen National Park. so you get to see see the mountains and see the park. We're going to tour Maihaugen, which is in Lillehammer, as well as the Glass Cathedral in Holland. And Captivating Scandinavia, this is our most exclusive tour that visits the three countries of Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. So, like I said, we're going to start out in Bergen. We'll go through the fjord country to Oslo. Then we'll enjoy an overnight cruise to Copenhagen. We're going to drive through the Kingdom of Crystal in Sweden, up to Gothenburg, and then finally to Stockholm. And this is a really great tour if you want to experience all three countries at once. Some of the extra experiences that we include are this dinner at Tivoli Gardens. We're going to tour Frederiksborg Castle. You're going to spend a night in the Swedish manor house, and you're going to visit the Costa Boda for Hitso lunch, which is in the Kingdom of Crystal. So you'll also get to enjoy some free time in Gothenburg and enjoy a visit to the Ship Museum and the Stockholm City Hall. We've got two more tours left. The first one is Songwolf. This is a heritage tour. If you have family roots in the Songwolf or Valdres areas of Norway, then this is a tour that I would recommend. You'll travel with our genealogist, Jean Marthaler, who can provide assistance in locating your family's ancestors, heritage sites, and more. So typically this tour includes a small group of people that are focused on finding their family's farm, church, and other sites in the areas that we visit. Quite a lot of personal service goes into this tour, so if you're thinking about joining this tour, I would recommend you contact us and so that we can go ahead and start making arrangements for you to visit some of these areas and make sure they're included during your visit there. So some of the highlights, of course, you'll get to travel with our genealogist. We do have in-depth visits to specific areas within Norway. We visit a variety of churches and folk museums. And this is more of a personalized tour, so there is a lot of individualization that goes into it. Our last tour for this year is Norway Scenic and Historic. It operates late July, August. So this is our most comprehensive tour of Norway. So we begin in Bergen and travel north to Voss and Flum. And then from Flum, we'll drive to Molde and Trondheim. And on the way to Oslo, we'll stop in Røros and Lillehammer. So this is a great educational tour, but you'll also find we include a variety of Norway's scenery and historic sites. You'll visit Røros, and you can have a chance to attend the St. Olaf Festival in Trondheim. And so that's something that makes this tour really unique. And of course, if you do want to customize your tour, we can do that with extensions within Scandinavia, Russia. We can also include a Hurtigruten cruise and more. So if there's something that you would like to make sure is included, we can work with you to accommodate that. So in addition to our escorted tours, we do offer a variety of independent travel options. I'm not really going to go through those today, but we do have a variety on our website. Or if you have something in mind, I would recommend that you contact our office and let us know what it is that you're looking for. And we can sit down and either create something personal just for you, or we can put together a package based on some of our other smaller independent packages. So now I'm going to open it up to questions, if anybody has any questions. I know, Dean, there was a question that came in this afternoon about the Hurtigruten cruise that I wanted to ask. Are you still there?
I am here.
Okay, great. So somebody wanted to know how many miles or hours does the cruise travel per day?
I came up with about 160 miles average per day. So you're actually cruising about 1,100 miles from Bergen going up to Kirkenes. And so just taking that by 6, that'd be about 160 miles a day. Now, in some cases, it's a little bit shorter. Other cases, it's a little bit more. It just depends on how many ports that we're stopping at. But an average is about 160 miles a day.
Okay.
And that's in a 24-hour period. So over the course of 6 nights, you would actually make the full 1,100 miles.
All right, great. And then I also wanted to know, is it mostly in calm water?
Okay, actually, sailing along the coast of Norway is very much like sailing along the coast of Alaska. It's a lot like an inside passage that we have about 4 areas where we actually go through open water, and those open water crossings last anywhere from about 4 to 5 hours, and they're usually done during the night. Otherwise, we're back in behind the islands, and it's almost like an intercoastal area, so we do get a fairly smooth ride, except for those 4 areas that we actually do cross open ocean, and usually it's fairly calm, but particularly during the late autumn months, such as November, early part of December, it can sometimes be a little choppy out there. But for the most part, we do get a fairly smooth ride. One question that always comes up is what about temperatures, even during the winter months? The coast of Norway is actually warmed by the Gulf Stream that comes up from the east coast of the United States along the southern coast of Greenland and Iceland, and then comes back down the coast of Norway. And so it keeps it relatively temperate, very much like Southeast Alaska or British Columbia or even Washington State. So yes, you will get snow along the coast, but it's not bitterly cold. Once you get inland, it'll get up a bit on the chilly side. But if you're right along the coast, it'll be in the 20s and 30s, even during the winter months, and of course during the summer months it gets up into the 60s and 70s, and sometimes even the low 80s. So we definitely have seasons, but that's part of the charm of Norway. In fact, even right now, we're even seeing even a few Christmas market trips left for this year. So it's a great way to have some Nordic traditions.
Great. Well, we have another question from Rosalind. Do the ships have Wi-Fi?
We do have Wi-Fi on the vessels. Currently, currently it is complimentary, but we are upgrading the system, and so there will be a minimal charge for it after the first of the year. But we do have Wi-Fi wherever we're in range of, or wherever we have satellite reception. And while it's not strong enough to support something like FaceTime, you can still get your emails, still visit your favorite websites, and post things on Facebook or Twitter. Actually, it's a lot of fun to see people actually posting their other trips. There's a group called Hurtigruten Venner, which means Friends of Hurtigruten, and it's a fairly active site on Facebook. It's Hurtigruten and space Benner, and people are constantly posting photos of ships and their experiences. So you should check it out on Facebook.
Okay. So we had somebody on their registration form ask us about formal nights. Are there going to be formal nights on board?
The great thing about Hurtigruten is that we have no dress codes, so there's no long dresses, no cocktail dresses, no tuxedos, no formal nights. It is really come as you are. And when I said this is what people kind of graduate to, they've been aboard other ships where they've had the fancy dressing up. We're casual. Sweaters and cotton dockers and jeans are more than acceptable. No one's going to turn you away because you're not wearing a tie. And that's part of the relaxed atmosphere that you find throughout Norway. Even in the cities, ties are rare. It's casual. It is Norway, and that's one of the things that I personally enjoy about it.
Okay. And they also want to know about the electrical outlets on board.
Electrical outlets on board, we operate on the European 220-volt system. So if you're going to be using a laptop or something like that, you will make sure that your power supply will accept 220. And if it's any of the major brands, such as Toshiba or HP or Sony or any of those, the vast majority are indeed compatible. I also find that using your iPhone or your cell phone, you can also be charged with the 220. But you just simply have to have the adapter, which is the European two-prong plug. You can pick those up at any electronics store for about $2.50 to $3. Also, too, if you have a CPAP machine, which some people travel with, those are usually 220 volt compatible as well. Any other
Okay.
questions that we have?
I'm sorry, what was that? Somebody wants to know how did they sign up for activities on the shore excursions?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
How do
You
people
said,
sign up for shore excursions?
okay, you can actually pre-purchase your shore excursions through Brekke Tours, or you can also buy them on board. And if, you can also go to our website and you can look at them there. But in our brochure, we actually list the shore excursions. It gives the difficulty level, the time that they operate, and also what the cost is. So they range anywhere from $40 to $200, depending upon what you want to do. Or things like snowmobiling in the winter months are actually considerably more expensive. But most are in the $45 to $65 range, very similar to what you'd find with any other mainstream cruise line. But again, they can be booked on board. Actually, before you leave, we actually send out a shore excursion booklet that lists in detail all the shore excursions, so you can still even add on even before you leave. So, most of our shore excursions do run. They're not curtailed because number of participants. So it's you're fairly safe or fairly well assured of getting on them, particularly during the high season months. Anything else? Well, on behalf of Hurtigruten, I want to say thank you very, very much. We do appreciate your attendance, and we look forward to welcoming you to Norway. So, as they say in my country, I'll say Tusen takk. In fact, we need to get down to the Tusen takk slide, right? Oh, by the way, this is Brekke's contact information, 1-800-437-5302, and they've got a very professional staff that well, they're Scandinavian. They know the lay of the land, and as I mentioned before, they're one of our prime agencies throughout the entire U.S. and Canada, and we're very, very supportive, and we do appreciate their support in their business. And so, Amanda, I'll be quiet now and let you close it out if you'd like, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, we did have Robert ask a question about visiting the Brekke farm, and that is something that we have done in the past. So if that's something that you might be interested in, please just let us know, and we can certainly try and make those arrangements. Does anybody have any other questions that they wanted to ask before we sign off today? I'll leave that open for just a couple more minutes. Somebody did ask about meeting at the airport with transfers. And I know, Dean, you guys do offer transfers to the ship from the airport and from hotels in Bergen and Kirkenes. And it's the same thing that we do as well for those traveling with our escorted tours. If you do come in with our group that we have flying together, we will meet you at the airport. Actually, our tour director will meet you. They'll be holding a little Brekke tourist sign so you know where to go. And that way everybody kind of, meets up there, and then you hop on the bus and you head to your hotel. So it's pretty easy. So
yeah, we do the same thing that if you've actually purchased transfers from us, then it's actually, that there's someone waiting at the airport. They usually have a sign that will say Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and they will gather all the guests arriving off of a specific flight or flights, and then you move to the hotel or to the ship. We also do this with the railway station in Bergen for those guests that are taking the train over or they've taken the Norway in a nutshell. There is someone there for the train arrivals that will pick you up and then take you to your hotel or ship. So it just depends upon.
Well, it doesn't like there's any other questions that we have for today. So I guess we will go ahead and wrap up. And thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. And as Dean said, Tusen takk. There's a lovely picture of the Midnight Pole. So we hope that you all enjoyed our presentation today, and we hopefully will show you Scandinavia and Norway this summer.
Thank you, and everyone have a very pleasant holiday season. Best to you and your families, and we'll see you up north. Bye for now.